Hey Lizzie! So today I want to talk about time traveling actually, because it's one of my all-time favorite topics. I just love time traveling. Like, I know I don't like the actual time traveling because obviously I can't time travel, but I just like the whole concept of it, and I really like trying to make sense of it all. You know how people sometimes ask you, like, if you could have any superpower, which one would you choose? And I'd always be like, oh my god, I want to time travel. So I've been fascinated with time traveling for all my life, and when I was younger I watched Charmed and I was trying to analyze their time traveling, and I was also fascinated with Harry Potter and the Prison of Azkaban, you know, when they go back into the past, and I've always tried to figure it out because I think there's a mistake in that, but it doesn't matter because today I want to talk about the time traveling in Doctor Who, because there are so many questions that I have, and I hope that you, or maybe someone else, can answer them, or like sometimes you just can't answer questions, so maybe you could just ask more questions. That's totally okay too. The first thing on my mind is, you know how the Doctor and Rose go back into the past when they're trying to save her dad, and it doesn't work the first time, so they go back a second time, and the Doctor and Rose are already there, so they can see themselves. And my question now is, so if that works, I know he says something about it's not good if you go back to the same point for like a couple of times, that you're not supposed to do that, but hypothetically, could the Doctor go back and meet himself in the past? Like, could Matt Smith go back and meet up with David Tennant? Could there be an episode with two Doctors, an old one and a new one? Would that be possible? And if it is, like, how do they do that? Because if they say, like, I want to go to, let's say, 1990, so they do that the first time, but the second time, they've obviously changed the original 1919, so do they go back to 1919.2? Is it a different 1919 then? Is it like, you know how you have those edited versions of books where you have like, well, the original was published in 1920, but then they like edited it in 1950. So is that the same? Do you have an updated version of 1990 then? So does the Doctor say, I want to go to the 1919 I've been to after 2008 or something? Like, would you have to differentiate? Or does the part, or is it like if you go to the past, does it automatically update and the past before that past doesn't exist anymore? Like, if you have the original 1919 and you go back to 1919 again, does the new 1990 become the old 1919? Like, I don't... Do you know what I mean? And another thing is, you know how the future is obviously already written, because like we know that River and the Doctor have some kind of relationship or are married, so if everything is already written, does that mean that every decision the Doctor makes, like to which planet he wants to go, that's already written in stone? Like, so how? And if so, if the future is already written and he does something now, does that have an impact on the future? Like, can you change the future even though it hasn't happened yet? Can you change something that hasn't happened? Like, if he does something now that he maybe didn't do before, even though he hasn't already done it, would that change the future? Or was it always like that? Is everything we do something that we have already done before? Oh my god, this is so complicated. I totally don't get what I'm saying right now. Anyway, what I'm also wondering is, like, when the Doctor regenerates, he's like, oh my god, I look like this now. But why hasn't he seen himself at some point? A river, like she meets David Tennant and she's like, oh my god, you're the doctor. But then she meets Matt Smith and she's like, oh, you're the doctor, but he looks different. So she must have known that he will regenerate. I mean, she could have given him some kind of hint and like stopped him from changing. Like maybe if she prefers the way David Tennant looked, which I would totally understand, she could have told him to do something differently. Or is it not possible? Can you not do something differently if it has already happened, even though it hasn't already happened? Oh god, time traveling. I want to study time traveling. I want it to be a course at uni. I want to understand that. I think that's so interesting. And also because I said that I'm really interested in, like, that I would always choose to have the power of time traveling. But like, I think most people who are interested in time traveling would be interested in the future, whereas I'm more of a past person. Like, you know how the Doctor always, like I think we've had that for at least 10 times already, he always goes to the end of the world, the end of creation. But personally, I'd be much more interested in the beginning of creation. Would that be too controversial to show on TV? I don't know, I think that would be so much more interesting how it all came into being, not how it stops. Like, who cares how it stops? I want to know how it began, because it could happen again. And then the end of the creation wouldn't be that bad if we knew that it could happen again. That's what's going on in my life at the moment. I should be studying, but I'm thinking about time traveling. Maybe this happens for a reason. Like, if it would be really cool if someone from my future could like visit me and be like, oh, don't worry, it's not bad if you're procrastinating, because you'll still become a I don't know what, and that'll be, oh, good. Unless you can still change your future by doing something now. Do we have free will? Or don't we? Like, who controls everything if it's already written in stone? Is it fate? And if it's fate, what is fate? Like, is fate a person? Is fate God? I don't know. God, I wish I could know these things. It would be so much more helpful. Like, every time you make a decision, you'd be like, oh, I don't really have to make the decision because it's already written in stone. But then, like, how would that work if you just stop making decisions? Too many questions. Well, I hope you can answer some of them for me. Anyway, have fun with writing your papers. I'm really glad I'm already done with that. Bye, Lizzie. See you soon.